Hello again and welcome to the 140k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Mortal Wombat for sending in some awesome pictures of his Armageddon Steel Legion. I really like this colour scheme, really like the army. I'll tell you what, the things that stand out to me, of course, the Fortress of Arrogance Baneblade for Yarrick. Love that conversion, it looks absolutely fantastic. And also the Scions, which you paired up in the classic Steel Legion colours. They look really cool as well. In fact, it all looks great, because then you've got the Bulgarians, you've got the regular infantry, it all looks fantastic. So thank you for sending these pictures in. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, please post them on my Facebook page or email them to me at mordianglorytv@gmail.com. And don't worry if you are like me and you're an Ogre who hasn't had his bonehead surgery yet, because there will be a link to the Facebook page and the email address down in the description below. But without further ado, let's crack on with today's video. Now today guys, I want to continue my analysis of the Codex supplement Cadia. Now this can be found in the Warzone Octarius campaign book that's recently been released by Games Workshop. It's book 1, The Rising Tide. Now I have done 2 videos on this supplement already. I've done a general overview first impressions video and I've also done an in-depth analysis of the Warlord traits. And I'm going to be continuing the in-depth analysis, but this time we're going to be taking a look at the relics. Now what I'm going to do is I'm following a similar format to the last video, where I'm going to go through each relic in detail, explain how I would use them, whether it's a good relic or a bad relic, and then we'll do a little bit of side comparison with what is currently available in the Guard Codex as well. So hopefully after this video you'll have a good idea of where these new relics stand in the pecking order of the relics overall, and whether they're worth taking over some of the basic relics, and whether these relics are worth considering the Cadian regiment trait as a whole as well. So it's all that stuff's going to be factored into this video. But without further ado, let's crack on and start looking at these relics. So the first thing that I want to say about them is that overall, taking all of the new 4 relics into account, I'd say that they are pretty good. Some of them are absolutely fantastic and some of them are cool but not particularly great. But overall, I think Games Workshop has done a pretty good job with all of these relics. Every single one of them you could take in a game and not feel like you are handicapping yourself, which is a really nice thing to have from relics. Because often what you tend to find, this is across all factions, is that sometimes Games Workshop will release some which are just obvious duds, but they're just fillers, and then it can be a little frustrating when you see someone take one of those, like a battle report and like an army or something. You're like, why are you doing this? I know it's cool, but this is obviously a bad pick. Whereas with some of these ones in the Cadian trait, I think there'll still be a little bit of that, oh, you should have taken the better one, but by and large I think all of these are fairly usable. So the first relic that we're going to take a look at is Decker's auto-vox servo skull. Now this is for an infantry officer only. Each time the bearer uses its voice of command ability, not only can you extend the range of the orders to 12 inches, but if the bearer is within range of a unit with the Voxcaster within 3 inches, then you can extend the range of the order via the Voxcaster to 72 inches. Now this is both a really good relic, also a really frustrating one. Now we'll focus on the good bit first, because the frustrating thing is not really a valid point, to be fair. But overall, this is a fantastic relic. Cannot complain about this. The ability to have the extra range, 12-inch range alone is nice. You start combining that with things like bellowing voice, and suddenly you've got like 2 officers who are able to do orders in a 12-inch bubble, which is really nice. So that's pretty cool. You've got a Warlord trait and a relic. Those things can combine pretty nicely. However, where this thing really shines is with the Voxcaster ability. You could take a Warlord, a company commander, with Decker's auto-vox servo skull, Master of Command Warlord trait, and then spend a CP on him each turn, and he's going to be able to do 4 orders a turn. And if you're taking Voxcasters, that's 4 orders with a 72-inch range from Voxcaster to Voxcaster. That is really significant. It means that not only do you have Voxcaster abilities that really you can reach anywhere on the board, and under the new, I say new, 9th edition's been out for a while, but under the 9th edition board sizes, having a 72-inch range is just absolutely fantastic. You can put an order to any unit that you want, no problem, on the battlefield. Tactical implications of that are really significant. The ability to order move when up to a unit that's isolated or perhaps been outflanked without having to risk the officer itself is very important. Not only does it allow you to extend those orders, but at the same time it allows you to potentially deny the enemy victory points. Often an opponent will pick assassinate against guard. Well, good luck getting that officer in the back who's still issuing orders 72 inches away. I don't need to send him on an outflanking mission with a dagger of Tactica or via gifted commander. I don't need to do that. I've got him right here. So on the one hand, you're not only protecting victory points, which means you're denying the enemy victory points, also allows you to score victory points no problem whatsoever. I mean, this commander, you can sit him on an objective with a squad that's got a Voxcaster, bubble wrap him, and that commander can sit on that objective, scoring you primary victory points turn after turn after turn, issuing, as we've said with that, build, Master of Command, or even without Master of Command, being able to do 2 to 3, maybe even 4 orders a turn, and just be perfectly safe. A lot of armies don't have access to ignore line of sight. They have to try and get around it by a deep strike. And again, with you don't that just means that officer is safe as houses. And on the other side, it's really cool. It's really cool because you imagine your commander set up like a little command tent in one of the ruins in the back of the board, just slinging orders out via a big master vox. It's genuinely, for an all infantry army, probably one of the best relics you can take. If you're taking a pure infantry army, this is really one to consider. Okay, now the only thing which frustrates me about it is that because we've got this ability on this relic, it makes me think that when the new Guard Codex comes out, Voxcasters won't have been updated. Because what I see here with the whole 72-inch range for Voxcaster orders, I want that to be standard. I want that to be a standard thing for all Voxcasters. So whilst it's nice to get it in this relic, I kind of hope that we get this upgrade for all Voxcasters. But if we do, then this supplement starts looking like it's going to be superseded, which isn't great. I don't want to spend £30 on a book that it's going to get superseded when the Guard Codex comes out. So it's, like I said, really good relic, fantastic for an infantry army. Not so much if you're taking a tank army, but still really good. And definitely not situational. No, that's what I look for. Just so you guys know, when I'm looking for where I think something's good or bad, I want to see if it's situational or I'm going to get used out of every single battle. I'm going to get used out of this every single battle. I'm an infantry commander. This is an infantry relic. I'm having a good time. Just wish that it was the same for all Voxcasters. Now the next one is kind of where we peak. I would argue that the next relic is the strongest relic that not only is available in this supplement, but is probably the strongest relic overall. Okay, and it's called Gatekeeper, and it's a model with a battle cannon only. This relic replaces the battle cannon, has the following profile. Still counts as a battle cannon for all rules purposes, and it has a 72-inch range. It's heavy D6, strength 8, AP -2. So far, so battle cannon, right? But it's a flat damage 3, and it has the blast ability. And when you attack a chaos unit, you get 1 to the wound roll. Add 1 to the wound roll. This is a fantastic relic. Even if it didn't have that ability where it starts punking chaos units, even if it's just a flat damage 3 battle cannon, it's fantastic. And do you know how I know it's fantastic? Because we've been here before. Back in the days of Vigilus Defiant or Vigilus Ablaze, whatever one it was called, back in the Vigilus supplement, that was when you got the Hammer of Sunderance, which was a relic battle cannon. And that was just like this, except for it didn't have the chaos. It was just a flat damage 3 battle cannon. And do you know how good that relic was? It was so good that people never left home without it. That's how good it was. I don't know a single Guard commander, genuinely, I don't know a single Guard commander who doesn't have like a Vanquisher Cannon Lehman Russ or like a converted Battle Cannon Lehman Russ to represent the Hammer of Sunderance. I don't know someone who doesn't have that. Everyone had it. It was that good. And now it's back, and it's even slightly better. So it's really, really a good relic. Combining this with your full payload manticores means you now have 3 sources of flat damage 3. Amazing. The fact that this gets +1 to rune against chaos is actually not as situational as you would think. Death Guard armies are a staple of every tournament. I don't think I've been to a tournament yet where I haven't faced a Death Guard army. Okay, that's how prevalent they are. And you know what's really annoying about Death Guard? It's a toughness 5. Well, you know what? This thing doesn't care the toughness 5. This thing is going to be winning them on 2s anyway. And most of the time, it's going to be kicking them right down onto that invulnerable save. You know, you're talking about Cataphractic Terminators or whatever, Death Shroud Terminators. You're going to be kicking them right onto that 4-up, and every single one that they fail. Well, to be fair, they do reduce the damage by 1. So you're not going to quite be killing 1 with every single shot that goes through, but you're going to have a really good chance of just punking. You know, every couple of shots is going to absolutely just destroy one of those plague terminators. And if you're shooting at something like a plague marine, every single shot that you get through is going to kill one of them. And if you're shooting at anything like a plague burst crawler, and don't forget, you've got blooming Contemptor dreadnoughts, not just Death Guard ones, but ones in general. Now let me tell you, as someone who was firing battle cannon shots into Contemptor dreadnoughts turn after turn after turn in the last tournament that I went to, it would have really helped if my battle cannon had been damaged flat 3. There's a battle report on this channel, maybe my brother's channel, of my tank guard trying to take on his dreadnoughts. And I tell you what, if I'd had bloody flat 3 damage on this battle cannon, anyway, needless to say, it's very, very good. Now, what's also really interesting about this, slight extra point, this is what you guys get from coming to this channel. You get these extra little details. Anyway, we were talking in the last video about Gifted Commander. We were talking about, is it worth giving up Gifted Commander to take 2 full payload manticores? Now, normally you really want a minimum of 2 sources of flat damage 3. Now, with this relic, you get tactical flexibility, because not only do you can go, right, you know what, I'm going to take all 3 sources of flat damage 3. I'm going to take Gatekeeper and 2 full payload manticores. But also you can go, you know what, no, I don't need all 3. That's a little overkill. I'm going to take 1 full payload manticore. That's the source of flat damage 3. I'm going to take Gatekeeper, which, whilst not indirect fire, is 72-inch range, so pretty much can fire at stuff without being able to be shot back, you know, along those firing lanes. And then I'm just going to give up 1 of my Warlords. I'm going to not take another tank ace, and I take Gifted Commander instead. And so not only do I not lose any of my flat damage 3 output, but I also get to take advantage of Gifted Commander, which allows me to keep my tank commanders safe and in the fight. So it's really, really good. I think tournament winning combination, or not tournament winning, competitive guard, Cadian choices, armorist choices, you're going to see Gifted Commander, you're going to see a tank ace trait, and you're going to see Gatekeeper. Those are the 3 things you're going to see. I think that's the best way of doing it. With equal validity, maybe going 2 full payload and Gatekeeper. But that's what I think is the big brain maneuver. Taking those 3, Gifted Commander, Gatekeeper, and 1 full payload manticore. I think that's how you do it. Let me know what you guys think. Now, after that, we've sort of peaked now. We start getting into some of the cool and, you know, still kind of usable relics, but not totally broken. You get Bastogne's sword. Now, Bastogne's sword is really cool. It's a souped up power sword. It's a +2 strength power sword, and it's flat damage 2. That's kind of cool. But the main sort of thing that you want to be sort of taking it for is the fact that Cadian infantry units within 6 inches don't suffer from combat attrition modifiers. So what that means is if your unit is below half strength, then normally people would start, if you fail a morale test, other members of the unit start running away on a 1 and a 2. But if you're near Bastogne's sword, it's a bit like being a space marine, you only ever run away on a 1. So it's kind of good, and it does pair nicely with the new big conscript blobs. You know, cutting down the amount that are going to run away by 33% is by 16% is nice. but it's just, you don't really care about conscripts. That's kind of the thing. If you're really going into that conscript spam army, you don't really care about them. And Guard have plenty of way of mitigating morale as it is. And as someone who's run pure infantry recently and not even bothered with Lord Commissars, just been like, whatever, you really don't worry about morale. You just accept the fact that occasionally a few more people run away. Genuinely, morale isn't a big deal in 9th. So, morale buffs aren't ideal. So, it's an okay relic. I think it's very cool to rebuild Bastogne and take a platoon commander and pay the extra CP and give him Bastogne's sword. I think that's the way you do it. I think you do it as you take your competitive hat off and you put your goddamn Imperial Guard hat on, and you just like, I'm going to pay tribute to Bastogne, who was probably one of the coolest characters that we had in 5th edition, and you know we haven't had him back since, and now we know he's dead. It's a bit of a shame. So I would, if I wasn't playing in a tournament, and even if I wasn't taking it too seriously, I would seriously consider taking Bastogne's sword on a platoon commander every single time, in a funny sort of way, just to pay my respects. I know it sounds crazy, but not just to pay my respects to this made-up character that no one gives a shit about, but to pay my respects to the 5th edition Codex that Bastogne was in, that represented. I mean, this, you know, you could take Bastogne's sword, you could take Gifted Commanders or outflanking whole platoons. You can start living those glory days of 5th edition again with this supplement. So that's kind of cool. Now, the last one to mention is the Tactica Pax Cadia. Officer only, once per battle round when you use a battle tactic or strategic ploy stratagem that requires you to select a Cadian unit. If that unit is within 6 inches of this model can use this relic provided it has not been used for that stratagem already during this battle. If it does, that stratagem costs fewer CP to a minimum of 1 fewer CP to a minimum of 0 CP. Note that the CP cost is only reduced by 1 CP, and the use of stratagem any future usages of the cost the normal amount of CPs. So this would be amazing if it wasn't just Cadian stratagems. Now don't get me wrong, the Cadian stratagems are pretty good. They are pretty good. But at the same time, why couldn't you have just made it so that it just made once per game, once per battle round, you can make one of your stratagems cost 1 CP less. Just keep it simple. You've limited it to the Cadian one, which already massively reduces its simplicity, and then you've made it I have to be within 6 inches of the guy for it to go off. Too many barriers. I don't like it. Please, and I mean this wholeheartedly, tell me if you disagree. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Mordian Glory, you fool. I'm happy for you to literally type Mordian Glory, you fool, you haven't considered X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. If you do that, I will pin it, and it is a big brain maneuver, and I realise that I'm wrong. I'll pin your bloody comment to the top. I'll do it. Okay? And I'll like it, and I'll comment it, and I'll heart it, and all that kind of stuff. But personally, I feel Tactica Pax Cadia is weak because it has too many things that has to go off on it for it to work. Just not a fan. I mean, then it's... Would I chuck a CP at it? Maybe. Maybe I could see it working a little bit with something like, shock troops or load, fire, reload. Maybe I could see it working because, tank commanders and officers, so technically you could take it. Maybe I could see it working in that regard. Maybe I am being too harsh. But my instinct when I saw this was that it was the weakest, second weakest of the bunch, alongside Bastogne's sword. I think maybe I am being a bit harsh on it. I think if you were to take... Guard don't have a lot of great relics anyway, so I think if you were to spend a CP on this thing and then use it to basically get load, fire, reload, free 1 turn, and then shock troops either free 1 turn or... Yeah, it could make its CP cost back. It could make its CP cost back, but you're going to have to think about it. You're going to have to build it. So you could spend a CP to take this as an extra relic and then get your CP back. I could see that happening. I could see it at the very least. It becomes like a break-even thing. At that point, it's like, why wouldn't you take it? Well, so there you go. That's a good point. You know, that's a good point. So in a funny sort of way, you know, it could be that you could get a lot out of this, but the fact that you have to be within 3 to 6 inches, and the fact that if you're going to put it on an officer, either you've got to have an officer who's not doing orders, or you put it on a tank commander who could then be targeted and blown up. It's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. Anyway, so that is the last of the relics. I'm kind of, if I was to order these in terms of usefulness, I would say, you know, actually, I'm going to say one last thing about Tactica Pax Cadia, because I feel like I'm kind of talking myself around to it now. It's not situational. I mean, none of these are, but this is definitely not situational. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was. I think if you can play into it so that basically you spend CP to take it, but you get those CP back, so it's basically like you break even, or you even end up spending, you know, it saves you some CP. I think that could work. Anyway, in terms of how do I rank these, I think Gatekeeper at the top. If you're going a tank army or hybrid army, Gatekeeper, don't leave home without it. I think if you are going down sort of the pure infantry route, or the more infantry heavy route, then I would definitely think Decker's auto-vox over skull, I wouldn't leave home without that one. And then I think Tactica Pax Cadia, middling, you know, it's alright. If you can build around it, it's not bad. If you've got a game plan for it. And I think Bastogne Sword is the weakest. Now, in comparing these to a couple of my favourite relics in the main codex, you've got Kurov's Aquila. That lets you farm CP. I suppose what you kind of have to decide is, you know, Kurov's Aquila might get you back 5 CP in a game. Is Tactica Pax Cadia going to save you 5 CP? Maybe. It might say you've got Never Give Up, Never Surrender, you've got Load, Fire, Reload, you've got Field Promotion, Shock Troops, and Cadia Stand. Each one of those, if you've got all of those off, you'd save 5 CP. Or you take Kurov's Aquila, which gets you a CP back. And if your opponent's very CP heavy, that might get you, you know, you see what I mean? So I think it's about, you know, kind of equal to Kurov's Aquila. I suppose you could consider it's better than Kurov's Aquila because you're not relying upon your opponent turning up with a shitload of CP. But you could also say it's worse than Kurov's Aquila because it relies upon your character being within 6 inches of all these units and to be able to get off the ability to save the CP. So it swings and roundabouts at the end of the day. And Kurov's Aquila, you know, goes off on, you know, you get the chance for that nearly every single time as well. Now, in terms of Bastogne's Sword, comparing these other two other ones in the book, Bastogne's Sword it's a combat relic. We have a few combat relics in the guard, but we don't take those anyway. So yeah, no, it's probably quite a good combat relic, but I'm all right. Now, in terms of comparing these generally to some of the other book ones, we've got Kurov's Aquila mentioned. Dagger of Tusaka. I really like the Dagger of Tusaka. I think it really lets you outflank and get some real tactical flexibility. But I think if you're taking Gifted Commander, you don't really need it. So I'd say overall these probably, you know, can edge that out. But again, if you're going pure infantry, you could use Gifted Commander, Dagger of Tusaka, and you could outflank loads of people, and then you could combine that with Decker's auto-vox. You could do orders to all these outflankers from miles away. There's loads of stuff you could do with it. So I think it is quite an interesting. Yeah, I think there's definitely some stuff you can do with the Dagger of Tusaka and the current Cadian supplement. But those are the main ones I'd say. Overall, how do I feel about these ones versus the book ones? And I would say overall I feel like these are all pretty strong apart from Bastogne's Sword. And these are all pretty convincing reasons why you'd go Cadian. These are all these and the Warlord traits that we've covered so far are really good reasons to sack off whatever regiment you've been using so far. From a competitive point of view, obviously we're talking about here, guys. not from a fluff narrative point of view, but to sack off your regiment and be like, these are me personally, these are persuading me to go Cadian. So, obviously we've got to get some more games in the book, we've got to try things out, but me personally, these are definitely persuading me to go Cadian. Okay? Anyway, we'll leave that there for now. Overall, I really like them. Gatekeeper top as a take all comers. Decker's Vox as really, if you're going building into all infantry, that's really good. Tactica Pax Cadia, okay. Bastogne Sword, weak. Overall, I think they've got loads of tactical flexibility. Gatekeeper's just solid damage output, but the others, you can really start combining Decker's auto-vox with Gifted Commander, Gatekeeper with Gifted Commander, Tactica Pax Cadia with, you could start combining that with some of the stratagems we're going to be looking on later on. So it's definitely got some options. I think overall all of these are pretty strong, and like I said, they're definitely starting to turn my head towards becoming a Cadian fanboy. How do they compare to the Relic of Lost Cadia? Because that's a really important one, really, isn't it? The Relic of Lost Cadia is an absolutely fantastic relic, and I think Gatekeeper is equal to it. How I would do, if I was doing this, what I would do is I'd spend the CP to get the extra relic, and I'd take Relic of Lost Cadia, and if I was taking a hybrid force, I'd go Gatekeeper, and if I was taking like an infantry force, I'd take Relic of Lost Cadia and Decker's auto-vox. So I think as a Cadian commander, you basically want to be turning up with 2 relics. You want to be turning up with this one of these ones, and the Relic of Lost Cadia, because it's so good. The Relic of Lost Cadia is like the Relic of auto-win versus chaos, and it is that good. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Of course, I want to say massive thank you to the Patreon supporters. It's thanks to the Patreon supporters that I was able to get this supplement, do the in-depth analysis on it, compare it to some of the experiences that I've been to at tournaments recently, and bring that front-line knowledge back to you guys via these videos. So massive thank you to the Patreon supporters. You guys are legendary. If anyone is interested in signing up to the Patreon, there's a link down in the description below. I don't do any levels or tiers or anything like that. $1, $20. I'm just grateful for whatever you guys can give me, and all of the money gets invested straight back into the channel. I'm super transparent about all that kind of stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.